blood, pulsing through vein and sinew, leaks from the wound to pool on the cobblestone streets of old Yharnam. Foul beasts, tainted by sanguine humors, prowl the night, dreaming of death through salvation. It is only the hunters who can stand against this throbbing infection. But with each kill, with each clotting cut, they become more and more like the beast they slaughter. And thus the night seems to stretch on, eternal, beneath the waning eye of the watchful moon. Bloodborne is a third-person action-adventure game. In it, you play as a hunter, an enigmatic individual who has come to the Gothic city of Yharnam to find and slay various beasts that roam the streets, preying upon the wicked and innocent alike. Now, for most of the game, you'll be fighting the living and the dead of Yharnam, which have been corrupted by its dark power. But as you progress, you'll uncover darker forces and find yourself falling into a nightmare of unending blood and violence. Now, gameplay-wise, Bloodborne is very similar to the Dark Souls series, which is another line of games made by From Software. As the game begins, you will find yourself in a ruined cityscape populated by monsters with a few basic weapons and items at your disposal. Your goal in any area is to fight your way through hordes of enemies and eventually confront the boss of that level. Defeating this foe will grant you material rewards as well as unlocking new areas that you can then travel to so you can repeat the process. Now, a key part of the challenge to a Souls-like game is that if at any time you die, everything gets reset, which means that all enemies and bosses get their health back and return to their original positions. Now, granted, there are checkpoints scattered along the way, so you won't have to always replay the entirety of a level, but it's still very old-school level design. You will not be able to progress into the next area until you have efficiently managed to overcome the one you are currently in. Now, as far as combat is concerned, Bloodborne is mostly similar to Dark Souls, but distinguishes itself in a number of ways. Your character always comes equipped with two weapons, a melee weapon meant for close-range combat in your right hand, and a firearm meant for eliminating enemies at range in your left hand. Now, you can use your melee weapon to string together some basic combos with light and heavy attacks, but you can also transform your weapon with the tap of a button. These transformations change how the weapon operates and unlock new attack moves. Your simple sword might snap open to reveal a powerful cleaver, or your basic axe might extend into a long-range polearm, with other more elaborate weapons to be found as the game progresses, and each one offering you different tactical options in terms of speed, damage, and reach. Now, in addition to swords and guns, you'll also be able to outfit your hunter with various pieces of armor that each provide their own specific protection, as well as special items, such as grenades or antidotes or healing potions. These items are limited, and you'll need to manage your supply as you fight. You cannot, for instance, fire your gun if you run out of bullets. Like most Souls-like games, your primary purpose is to find and slay enemies. Defeating these foes rewards you with points, which act as a kind of universal currency within the game. These points can be spent to either purchase new weapons, items, or upgrade your already equipped gear, or to purchase level ups, which improve your character's stats and abilities. Now, your character can only buy and sell items and abilities when they're at their home base, but returning to base causes the level to refresh and all enemies to respawn. There's a balance of risk-reward here, since if you die, not only do the enemies respawn anyway, but you also lose any points you had currently accumulated. Now, these points aren't actually gone, they simply drop onto the ground as a glowing collectible, but retrieving them means that you have to make your way back to the place where you last died at. While Bloodborne shares a lot with its spiritual predecessor Dark Souls, there are some areas in which it distinguishes itself. For starters, the game has almost no defensive equipment. There's maybe like 2 shields in the entire game, and they're not very good. But this isn't some sort of oversight. The game is actually designed for you to be much less passive and much more aggressive. This is why your secondary weapon is a firearm. Having a gun equipped means that not only can you deal damage to opponents at short and medium ranges, but you can also use your firearm to stun opponents. Hitting them with a bullet in the middle of an attack animation will throw them off balance, at which point you can run up and deal massive damage. And this also feeds into one of the game's secondary systems, which is a health recovery mechanic. Essentially, whenever you take damage, you have a short window of opportunity where your health bar slowly ticks down. If you can jump forward and damage your opponent in that time, some of your health will be recovered. And all of these aspects combined means that Bloodborne's combat is much faster, much more responsive, and it rewards an aggressive playstyle. Now, what are the good points of Bloodborne? Well, for starters, the presentation is fantastic. The environments look great, they're beautifully rendered, and they're filled with fantastic little details and populated by a wide variety of enemies. Sound design is also excellent, especially during pulse-pounding boss battles. But the real standout is, of course, the enemy and level design, which combine to create a punishing level of difficulty. This is a world without random encounters. Every monster, every staircase, every treasure chest has been specifically placed to challenge you and take advantage of the unprepared. Enemies are not simply plentiful, they are powerful as well. Most of them can defeat you in 2 to 3 good hits. This is a hard game, and if you don't watch out, if you don't learn the level, and pay attention to enemy behaviors, and stay on the lookout for traps and ambushes, you're going to die. Well, more than normal, at least. Now, I do have some minor criticisms of Bloodborne. For starters, the upgrade system is a little tedious. You see, in order to upgrade weapons, you need not only points, but also crafting materials. And while the game does provide enough materials through regular rewards that you can typically get your primary weapon fully upgraded by the end, if you pick up a secondary weapon or wanting to try out a new playstyle, the only way to get those upgraded is by grinding enemies. Also, instead of a large, interconnected world, Bloodborne has a more traditional level select system. And this means that occasionally, especially towards the end of the game, you'll run into situations where you're not sure which area is an appropriate challenge for your current build. And this can be a little frustrating, but then again, risk and death are regular components of a game like this. Overall, I would say Bloodborne is a fantastic action game. A near perfect combination of gorgeous environments, ruthless enemies, and uncompromising difficulty. I would give Bloodborne 4 out of 4 stars and my succinct recommendation. If you're looking for a punishingly difficult action game which is dripping in atmosphere, then yeah, this is definitely one to check out. Alright, well, thanks for watching. Now, if you'll excuse me, the hunt never truly ends.